All right. All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our weekly fellowship, Coast to Coast. Tonight, we are going to do our podcast number 2 live, and we are going to continue this conversation around dating. So we're going to have, I'm going to introduce our panelists. Well, I'm going to acknowledge our panelists, and they're going to introduce themselves. And I'm going to ask everyone else if you could just remain on mute until the latter part, and then we will field comments and questions. For the meantime, if you have a comment or a question, I'm going to ask you to please put it in the chat, but just please remain on mute. And at this time, the only voices that we want to hear from right now are our panelists. And like I said, towards the latter end, we will open it up for a greater discussion. So welcome again to our second podcast. And we are going to be discussing dating. And so I am going to pass it to our first lady of the group, Christina Moore, and just give us a little intro of who you are, where you're from.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Christina, aka Crenshaw Chris, aka The Quiet Storm, repping LA, but in the Bay.
Hey, I love it. I love it. Pass it over to TSS.
Yo, what's happening? Corey Akeem Morton, aka that boy TSS, straight from that 9-1 sickness, minister, producer, songwriter, servant of the Lord.
I'm not sure that all of us know what 9-1 sickness is, so where is that?
That's in Sacramento, California, the capital of California.
Hey, talk about it.
Ooh, this guy. Okay, all right. I feel y'all. Y'all on one tonight already. Let's get it.
Alvin Eddington Jr.
Oh, that's me. You already said who I am. The big homie, the OG, the West Coast finest, Mr. West Coast Wednesday himself. Y'all know where I'm from. LA. I represent it all the time. From LA to the Bay. Yeah, it's all good.
I love it. I love it. Vincenzo.
What's up, everybody? Vince Ford, Minister Genesee Avenue, a new moniker, King Pushback. I'm trying to push back on everybody's comments tonight. I don't care who it is, but I'm looking forward to having this conversation. I'm just glad everybody is on. It's good to be on time, and just really excited about the conversation.
Yes, sir. I love it. King Pushback. All right. So again, this is our second recording on this topic of dating. The last time we met, we had a very fruitful dialogue and discussion, shared some good stories and laughs. The one thing we didn't do in our last podcast was define this topic that we're talking about, which is dating. So I'm going to throw this question out there, and this question is open to our panelists. And the first question is, how do you define dating? And this is open to all panelists.
Okay, all right. That wasn't in our you good at what you do, brother. You good at what you do. How do you define dating? Never thought about it. So here's my shot. I guess I would define dating as a time spent trying to get to know someone, to see if we're able to move forward and spend time together in whatever capacity it's going to be.
I think I would agree. It's an opportunity to get to know someone. I think success is measured on intentionality. And I also believe that there has to be a conversation, because I think it's subjective.
Can you elaborate more on what you mean by subjective?
Well, I believe different people have different definitions for dating. I think that's one of the issues that we face when it comes to romantic relationships, is that, my definition could be different than the young lady that I might be dating, or her definition may be different, right? So I think a conversation needs to be had up front about expectations as it pertains to dating, what you're looking for and how intentional you plan on being.
All right.
Go ahead, Crenshaw.
Okay. I agree with what has been said. I do think that it's subjective because when I first heard you, I was thinking about dating in the sense of like exclusivity. So we're at this place where we're getting to know each other and no one else is involved. But when I think about the term a little more, I think that it can also be that I went out on a date with you. So we are getting to know each other. Um, and I think that, like Vince said, it's super important to talk about it and to have some clear definitions in place because otherwise people may be led astray.
And I would say it's dating for me is looking like a collection of events of me spent with someone else. You know, the whole purpose is to get to know one another on a deeper level, in hopes to go deeper into the relationship.
All right. Very nice, honest answers. So I guess let's get to the square root of the word dating. So how would you define a date? This is open.
I don't think there's really a cookie cutter. It's just
Yeah.
time that's set together wherever you meet. It could be a library, could be a coffee shop, could be a walk in the park. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it's yeah, like you said, a cookie cutter answer for, how do you define a date? I don't, yeah, it can be done in various ways. It depends on the stage you at in your dating process. If you're at the beginning stages, there's one thing, but then if you guys have figured out that, you guys are compatible, whatever that means, and you can go forward, then you're spending, time doing other things, spending a little bit more money, you know what I'm saying? So I just think it really depends on, where you're at in your dating process with the persons, places, or things, and what your expectation and what her expectation is.
So I want to talk about how I would define a date in the beginning, and I want to talk about it from the perspective of a woman. And for me, one thing that I recently learned is that I should get a little bit of clarity because I think that there's a difference between a hangout and a date, right? So like I could just be hanging out with someone, we're in the same space, we're getting to know each other, that's cool. But I feel like if it's a date, and this is something I struggled with earlier on. I used to like do that thing where I'm like, well, should I expect for him to pay? Should I offer to pay? But now I'm at this place where I feel like if a man is asking me out on a date, then for me, there is some expectation for some planning ahead as well as for payment to be done as well on the first one. And yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, thank you for that answer. That was not a book answer at all, and thank you for elaborating. So if I could follow up with that, because you mentioned hanging out. So, my other brothers mentioned, a walk, coffee, but how do I know that we're not just hanging out versus we're on a date?
I think that what I learned is that I have to get clarity, right? Because if someone is asking me out, I need to know if this is just a hangout or if it's a date. So for me, I think that I find out by having a conversation. And even when I say like, I expect for them to pay, like I'm not expecting someone to take me out and like go to Ruth Chris or something like that. Like we could just be, we can go on a date and we can have a picnic, or we can go on a date and we can just go on a walk as well. But if there is, some type of payment involved and a man is asking me out, then I do expect for them to pay on the first date.
Los, I know you're the moderator, but I have a question for Christina.
Mhm.
So how do you express that expectation so that you're not in a situation where, you're at a restaurant, bill comes, and he has a different expectation than you have? How is that conveyed up front?
So first, I would get clarity about why I'm being asked out. I'll say, do you just want to hang out? Or are you asking me on a date? So that's the first thing. And the second part of it, with regards to the payment, at this point for me, I expect it. But if we get to that place and he's like, oh, you got your half, I'm going to pay my half. Like, I got it. But I'm definitely noting that.
Let me come back to you, King Pushback. How do you express that and make that clear? So before you said I do to your beautiful bride, how did you make it clear that this ain't just a hangout?
Well, I'm a direct person. And, even before even dates I've been on in the past, I just made it abundantly clear, even before they bring out the ticket. Like, I don't like things hanging in the balance. So, I'm like, I got it. I got it in the middle. When she bring the appetizer out, hey, bring the bill to me, to go ahead and just make it abundantly clear that this is what that is. And I believe when you set that expectation, I mean, obviously, things obviously change, right? This is, I'm 10 years removed from the dating game, but I would just make it abundantly clear, even in the middle of it, or even just the planning, like being intentional about the planning. It was never a situation of, trying to figure out, what she wanted to do. I mean, I would throw the ideas out there and just see where her head is at. I think you could learn a lot from direct conversation.
Okay, so is it officially a date because you paid for it, or is it because you let it be known up front, I want to take you out on a date?
Man, it's a date if I paid for it. If I put my money on the table, then we went on a date.
So what if she wants to pay half and go Dutch?
I would respectfully decline. And like Christina said, it would be noted. I kind of know where your head is at. And it could just be another conversation. I mean, maybe she's just at a place where she doesn't feel comfortable. We need to talk about that too. So I think it just all boils down to expectations.
All right. I see you shaking your head, Corey. What you got for us?
Definitely in agreement that I'm a straight shooter as well. So you're kind of going to know leading up to. It's not going to be something I just wait until the last final second. It's going to be something up front. But if it is something I pay for, I'm definitely interested more than just an interaction. Definitely trying to get to know you on a deeper level.
Yeah. So I see you, Vince, and this is open for either one. Go ahead.
Well, let me clarify too, because I don't want anybody walking away from here thinking that I'm just some chauvinistic person. Right? I don't want you to take that idea. What I am, and I like what Corey said. Right? It shows interest. I don't want you to feel like it's transactional to where, oh, well, he paid, then there's an expectation that comes by. No, I paid because I paid. I paid out of the goodness of my heart. I paid because I got a little bit of paper in my pocket and I can afford to take you on this date. Not necessarily expecting anything on the back end, because I know that could be the connotation. Sometimes a lot of women may even be like, well, I don't want him to pay because I don't want the expectation that I might have to, that he's going to expect something afterwards. So I understand that dynamic as well. But I just, put it out there that was the way I was raised. And that's even with like friends, even platonic friends. My mother always said, hey, if you go out with a young lady, you should expect to take care of that financially. That's just how I was raised.
Okay.
Now I got homies that, have paid for my meal or, things of that nature, which I'm cool with that, and I'm appreciative of it. But just know off rip, I'm walking into it with the expectation that I'm going to take care of this.
Yeah, I hear you, Vince. Big Bag Hank, right? Got a little paper in your pocket. So let me ask this then. In the Lord's church, I mean, have you guys seen it or experienced it where, you pay and, there's an expectation afterwards? And I'm just wondering, does that happen even in the church?
Oh, y'all quiet.
Y'all know
I
y'all.
haven't experienced that where it's the expectation for me. But there have been some women that have been expecting some things. It's not even just going out to eat or anything like that. But there's definitely been situations where it's like, yeah, I'm interested more than a Bible study, So yeah, for sure it happens.
I'll just say I don't have a whole lot of experience dating in the body, but I feel like if it's happening in the world, then it's happening in the body, I'm sure.
All right. What you laughing at, Alvin? I see you over there smiling.
Man, I'm just laughing at the whole conversation, man, because I'm touching 50, so all this is kind of foreign to me. Like a woman paying what? You know what I'm saying? Like this is like yeah, it's just never even an expectation that if I asked a woman out, she better not even look to pay. And this when I was in the world, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, man, so this is foreign that and if I did go out with a woman and she decided that she wanted to pay, um, when I was thinking about it, I was like, man, those women who I had been with for a while, and they were like, I want to take you, I want to go here, and this is what I want to do, and I just want to treat you. And so, I think that's cool. But prior to that moment of getting there, man, it was no question. It wasn't even a thought. It wasn't even, we didn't even have to have a conversation. Like, I'm gonna take you out and I'm gonna pay. If we going out, if she say I want to go out, guess who paying? I'm paying. And if I can't pay, we not going. Period. If she say, nah, we just not gonna go. So this conversation is interesting. It's foreign to me.
It's not, well, it shouldn't be foreign because it's not a new phenomenon. And the reason why I'm asking this and saying this is because it sounds like there's a distinction that still needs to be made in regards to just hanging out or going on a date. And if we're just hanging out, is there an expectation on the interested party to pay or not? So that's.
But Los, I'm gonna just be transparent in this moment, right? So in my single days, if I told a young lady, "Hey, we should hang out sometime," I'm not trying to be friends. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I'm just be, I'm gonna just keep it all the way 100. Like, I'm not, you know. And Daily said hanging out, I mean, I can bring a friend. Yeah, no, that's not that ain't the expectation. If I say, hey, we should kick it sometime, or we should hang out sometime. I know for me, in my vernacular, my vocabulary, that means that I want to get to know you. And that's just how I think.
Yeah.
I would just, I feel like it gets difficult because I think that there are instances where, for me at least, it's not clear, right? And even when I think I'm sure, I feel like I've had a couple of situations where maybe I thought it was a date, but at the end I was like, wait, was that a date? Or vice versa. I get to a situation and like maybe I'm meeting up with someone that like I knew already, and I'm thinking we're just catching up. Like we were in the same circle, we went to school together or something. And then at the end of it, I'm thinking, wait, did they think that was a date? So yeah, I just think that more clarity and discussion about it is better. And it's not always, the most comfortable thing to talk about, but a few experiences have taught me just to make it abundantly clear.
Los, is Netflix and chill a date?
You can't ask the moderator questions.
I'm trying, I'm trying to learn, I'm saying? I've been married, 10 years like Vince. So, and then, yeah, so man, you can answer a question. Help me out. Is Netflix and chill, is that a date? If somebody say, hey, I'm gonna come over to your house, we're gonna watch Netflix. Christina, is that a date?
Wait. Before we Christina, we're gonna open that up to all the panelists. All right. So I'm gonna ask the question: is Netflix and chill a date?
I already said nope.
Me, I would say no, because I wouldn't be signing up for nothing like that, to be honest. I mean, I'm just setting myself up to fail. So for me, I say no, because that wouldn't be a place that we would go to meet.
What do you mean when you say you're setting yourself up to fail?
Netflix and chill means we at either your house or my house. I have home field advantage or I don't. There's probably gonna be something else going on, whether it be drinking or just getting close together, arms, under arms. The home environment for me is comfort. So I'm gonna get comfortable. And if there's a woman next to me watching a movie, to be honest, it's definitely gonna be, I'm gonna make myself comfortable. And so for me personally, I'm not gonna set myself up to be in that position to lead to other things that yeah.
What are those other things? What are we talking about, man? I need y'all to just be straight up.
Man, we talking about, man, bro, sex happens in Netflix and chill. Like it's just what it is, man. Like, you can't resist the devil when you set yourself up for failure. You know what I mean? Like, the Bible tells us to flee fornication. Well, you setting the game plan all the way up when you got watching some movie that y'all ain't really interested in, and what you're interested in isn't gonna keep you holy. So that's what it boils down to.
Yeah, I think Tracy said it in the chat, but it's my understanding that the chill part is explicitly sex. So it's definitely not a date for me for all the reasons that have been mentioned. Boundaries have to be set, and being in someone's space or my space alone just is not a good look.
So yeah, I'm just trying to learn, I'm trying to understand. So if I prepare a dinner at my spot, right? Come over, you know what I'm saying, music going, that's not wise for me to do. You know what I'm saying? Might have a little Moscato or, you know what I'm saying, a bottle or something, just, that might be my thing. And then say, oh, let's watch something. That's just, I shouldn't be doing that. That's not wise for me. I need to flee fornication. No cooking at the house.
Just like I said, it depends on if it works for you. It works for you. I was explicitly talking about myself. I know my limits and my limitations, and I know what I should and shouldn't do. And yeah, I mean, even if it's not the first time, right? And even if I go kick it the first time and it's green, like nothing happened. Oh, we made it. The second time, oh, we made it. Third, but fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, it just opens up the floodgates for me. So I just shut it down all completely.
Let me go back to Alvin. Let me go back to the big homie OG. So, do you believe it's possible to Netflix and chill without having sex on a date?
I don't know. I'm happily married. I've never Netflixed and chilled. So that's why I was asking. It was a genuine question. I hear people, believers talk about Netflix and chill. So I'm just trying to get a better understanding of what that looks like. I know for me, what it would have looked like in the world would be just like Corey. It's going down. If it's, if I'm coming through, what I'm saying, I'm coming through after work, I'm tired, it's going down. So so I just want to know, if the same thing that I would think that I would experience is things that these people who are single in today's time are experiencing. Because I know, it was a wrap. And
It was probably called like VHS and Vibes or
this guy.
Blockbuster special.
Was actually my next
Blockbuster.
question.
Yes, Blockbuster, sir. Yes, sir.
That was actually my next question. I was gonna put it back on. And what did Netflix and chill look like in 1980, 1985? 1990.
It looked like Blockbuster and Beat It. I mean, Blockbuster.
All right.
Michael Jackson beat it, man. Michael Jackson beat it. Y'all tripping.
So look, that's a perfect segue to my next question, right? So we talking about Netflix and chill. So what does dating look like during a pandemic, right? Because we're sheltering in. At one point, we were sheltering in place, and there was, guidelines, and we were supposed to be, keeping our distance from one another. But what does dating look like during a pandemic?
Hinge, FaceTime. Yeah, really, that's what I mean for me. Until especially when it first broke open. I think now I am open to going out more. But yeah, initially it was hopping on Hinge, which for those who don't know, it's a dating app. which you can look for different individuals you may be interested in, and then FaceTime. So yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't dating before the pandemic, so it's a little difficult for me to think about the before and after piece of it. I started dating well into the pandemic, but for me, it looked like dating apps, and I had a few Zoom meeting dates before we actually met in person, and a lot of talking on the phone for me. Because another thing for me is like some people are just like, we meet, let's link up right away, but I kind of want to get to know someone first for my own safety, before I even go that route, and to see, if this is somebody that I could even see myself hanging out with in person. And I have gone on a few like in-person dates since then that were outdoors in the middle of the pandemic. So at least we had some airflow. But yeah, it's just been dating apps.
All right. This next question is for Vince and Alvin. So how have you guys continued to date your spouse during this pandemic? What does it look like?
Well, you want to go first, Al?
Yeah, mine's gonna be short and sweet. My bride don't like to go anywhere. So we've done a lot of, we drive around, we've gone to the beach, right? And just sat in the car and ordered some food, sat in the car and just watch people. We're people watchers. We have gone out a couple of times. We eat on a patio. Um, we rent movies from Prime. we rent a lot of movies. And I made it a habit to get her flowers every month. Before I didn't do that, so it made me do different things that I wouldn't normally do. And if it's not flowers, it's something else that I'm doing. I'm always trying to do something monthly for her to, just know that I'm thinking about her. And even though we can't go out the way we like to go out, we used to go out, then, we can still do little things.
Yeah, for me and my wife, I try to be extremely creative. Like for instance, like last year during Mother's Day, where I was supposed to take her, Google lets you do. I think I might be frozen. Did y'all catch that? I think I froze.
We heard the last thing we heard was Google lets you do.
Oh yeah. So basically, like Google lets you do like these flyovers and to see like different cities and stuff, like, because we couldn't really go anywhere. Since things have kind of opened up a little bit, since all of our kids are in school, and during the pandemic, it's very difficult to find a babysitter. So while they're at school, we do day dates. We'll go and eat breakfast somewhere, or we'll go catch a, go. We haven't been to the movies, but we'll go do some sort of activity outdoors or something during the day while the kids are away at school. And then we have movie nights, here at the house. I go to Aldi's, man, and get, a cracker assortment, some cheeses. You got to diversify your cheeses and some grapes and, other stuff like that, man, and just really have a good time. So, I had to be creative in this moment because, again, like finding a babysitter is difficult. Stuff was not open. So really, really being intentional about spending time with my wife was very important to me, and really just habit forming. So just building those habits. Like in the morning, she's not really a breakfast person, but I'll make her tea. And that'll lead to conversation, or we go. Like I said, we go to breakfast, stuff like that.
Nice, creative, getting creative. So that's great to hear, man. It's great to hear men talking about or married individuals talking about still dating their spouse. And I want to go back to you brothers real quick, because we always hear however you start is how you finish, right? And all the things that you did to pursue me and to get me, keep that same energy, right? So I see Alvin look like he already ready to jump on that. So talk about that, man. Like, what it looks like to continue to date your spouse. I mean, we hear that, but like, talk about it. Just share some information with those who are looking to get married and looking to keep that same energy going?
Man, I'm a horrible dater. I learned how to date in the world, so my wife had to and is still teaching me. You know, you know, she'll let it be known. I need to go somewhere, and I need to figure it out. Right. So even though when we were dating, I did figure it out and stuff like that. I was trying to win. I got her now. You said how you keep winning, you keep winning, man. I'm saved, sanctified, and filled, man. I wasn't trying to keep winning nothing, but that was my downfall too, right? So, the thing I did to get her, I didn't do to keep her, and she never said anything about it. She would just say, "I want to go out." And what happened was those things would build up. So over the course of a few years, it didn't happen immediately. Over the course of a few years, it was like, I'm not happy. I'm like, you're not happy? What I'm saying? Like, the kids are good, the house is good, everything's good. Why are you not happy? And she never said it wasn't because I wasn't taking her out, but I wasn't dating her, right? And so I had to learn how to get back into that place. I had to be honest with myself and like, you know what, babe, I'm not good at it. So, until I figure it out, I need you to help me. I need you to remind me that you need to go out. I need you to remind me that you love flowers until I get into the habit of doing it. And I'm okay with that. It used to irritate her, but now, like I said, you know, flowers every month or something every month it's just natural now. But I almost literally almost lost her because I wasn't doing it. So my advice to anybody, like do little things. It doesn't have to be extravagant. I know the time and kids and all that stuff that happens, but really small things like driving around and just driving for a couple of hours, that's a big thing. At least for my wife, it's something big. Just getting out the house and driving and talking and changing the atmosphere, even if it's staying in a hotel within a city, but it's just different, just a different environment. So that's something that I did have to learn the hard way. But thank God I learned it.
Yeah, thank you. Vince, go ahead.
Man, it's kind of crazy you asked that question because at the Midwest Marriage Retreat, me and my wife were teaching on the law of pursuit. And when I was studying that, man, it kind of took me to Genesis chapter 2, verse 24, where it talks about, you got to cleave, right? So this idea of cleaving, if you will, there's a word there that also means to pursue. But in the context of that scripture, where it says, you leave your mother and father and cleave unto your wife, there's not necessarily an end to that action. To cleave is a continuous act of pursuit, right? So, it also means like to be stuck, to stick together. Also from a perspective of fasting, right? Like, she's a focal point of mine. So much so that I pray for her, I yearn for her, I desire her in a manner that is beneficial to both of us, right? Because there is a sense of desire that can be unhealthy in a marriage. So for me, I try to make sure that she's a focal point of my day, in some way, shape, or form. Whether that's the little things or even big things.
That's good.
My wife is very she's she doesn't expect much, but she does expect effort in the things that I do provide.
Yeah.
She wants it to be thoughtful. Like it's I can't just do some half-hearted act of pursuit and expect her to be okay with it.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you guys for that. I'm gonna go back to Corey and Christina. So, what as a Christian man, as a Christian woman, what is the biggest turnoff?
Biggest turnoff is definitely being in the presence of God. Just really not wanting God. And I said this on part one. I've been blessed by the glory of God to be where I am, and so it's become my whole life. And so being able to see a woman who not necessarily has to be exact same, but just in pursuit to stay in the presence of God is attractive. I say it all the time. Holiness is the new sexy. You ask me. Physical is a part of it. It is a percentage. I'm not gonna lie, but it's a small sliver when you relate it to, for me, being in God's presence. And being in God's presence, it really, man, it equalizes everything out. You know, you can be a bad cook. You can be struggling in your career. You can be, you know, all these things. But if you're pursuing to stay in the presence of God, man, everything else is just gonna manifest. Because I've been there myself, you know, and still growing and learning myself. And I know I don't have everything, but I do practice staying in pursuit and being in His presence, because I know that that's going to help me in my everyday walk. So that's the most attractive, which is the most unattractive, because, you know, we have a lot of women who show themselves on social media, and for me that ain't it. You know, showing your skin and showing your butt, like it ain't doing nothing for me. I'm just, okay, let me keep scrolling, you know. And I get it, you know, some men like that, hey, you know, that's them. But for me, that's a turn off. Yeah, I don't need to see your body. I want to see your mind. I want to see where you at spiritually. So
A few things come to mind, but what I'll share is, I guess the best way to sum it up is to say hypocrisy. People who talk a good one, but their actions don't follow. And that's why I think it's super important to not just talk about things, but to also watch and observe people. Like, you know, if you say you're a believer, like, what does that look like? You know, does that mean that you just believe, or like, how are you spending your time? Does the way you spend your time show that? So yeah, it's just really cheap talk to me. It's the biggest turnoff. And, you know, I'm with Corey, where I want someone who's also a believer, somebody who I can, you know, do this thing with, and we can pray for each other, and we can do all those things together. So if they're not on the same page, that would be difficult for me, because a lot of my time is spent, you know, in the body with other believers, studying the Bible, like doing things like that, which is important to me.
This next question. Oh, you got something, Alvin?
Yeah, I just want to jump in there because I remember one of my things that I had going in was before dating Sabrina was spiritual levels, right? I had this thing, well, she got to be spiritually mature. And I just want to say this part, because pursuit doesn't mean you're in the same spiritual bracket. They may be higher or you may be higher. But as long as you guys are going in the same direction, you know, people say equally yoked. They think equally yoked, you have to be the same spiritual level. No, you don't. You just have to be going in the same direction. And even though I was spiritually more mature than Sabrina, you know, because she was in pursuit for God, because she was going in that direction, you know, either, you know, I was going to help her level up or, you know what I'm saying, or I was just going to have to wait for it, whatever the case may be, as long as we were going in the same direction. It was important. And I almost didn't choose her because I'm like, man, she's spiritually immature. That was, you know what I'm saying? I almost didn't have the best thing that's happened to me, because I had that mentality without fully understanding that, well, she was in pursuit. She was looking for something greater. And so I just want to say that real quick, just to throw that out there.
Yeah. Thank you for that. My next question is also open to all panelists. This question is, what does settling for less look like?
Can they come on mute for that, Los? Or did you want them exclusively in the chat?
This was for the panelists for right now.
Oh,
What does settling look like? I don't know. I just, all I have is what I've experienced. I said I didn't want to date anyone who was spiritually immature, and I said I didn't want to date anyone who had kids, because I don't have any biological kids. I was like, I don't want to date somebody who don't have kids, so she didn't want to have kids. And look at what I got, right? Like, my wife had two girls who were older girls. They weren't little babies, little kids. So, you know, it's that everything that I thought I would, you know, I'm not gonna settle for that. It's something that God blessed me with. So I don't know what settling, personally, I don't know what settling looks like. You know, I don't know if it's financial status. I don't know if it's, you know, job related. I don't know what that looks like. So
I I believe that, you know, settling for less is essentially giving up on your future. Like, you know, you're not satisfied with the decision, or you know that you're not, you're just kind of along for the ride, hoping that things get better, because you're at a place where you're like, well, maybe this opportunity doesn't pass my way again. And I just believe that, God's abundance is bigger than that. You know, um, we don't settle for a number of things. And so, why should we allow things like age or opportunity or circumstance to allow us to um, settle? A covenant is so important. I don't think it's something you can settle for. This is like, if we're talking about marriage right now, if this is a covenant, if this is a relationship built on sacrificial love, then I can't afford to settle. It's just, I don't necessarily believe that it's worth it. I had what I desired. I knew what I wanted. Number one, in a wife, I've always thought, even like a 10-year-old kid, like, I wanted to be a dad. I wanted to coach football games, soccer games. And as I grew older, I wanted someone that wanted to be a mom, that wanted to be invested fully in our children. And that takes some soul searching. You can't just, you can't just build that with anybody. So I think settling for less is just, it's like giving up. It's quitting. It's quitting on the abundance of God.
I'll jump in. I feel like I didn't want to answer this question because I feel like that's something that I've struggled with in the past, because I feel like my first breakup really affected me to the point where I was like, I don't ever want to be this vulnerable again. So I would rather be with someone that felt more safe. So that's what first comes to mind for me, like being with someone because you feel like you have security and safety within them. But then the other thing that comes up is this misalignment. And I don't even know if I like think about it as settling for less, as I think of like misalignment, like we're not on the same page. Maybe you're not seeing my worth, but I'm sticking around with you because I want company, or vice versa. So those are the two that come to mind: safety and misalignment.
Yeah, settling for less looks like, pretty much tearing down your core values and your core beliefs. Um, there's a lot of good women in the world, out here. A lot of solid women who I think will be great wives, but just understanding, again, just that being in the presence of God piece is important, because I know that I ain't gonna be on my A game every single day. I might be having off weeks, off month, off year, and so me settling for less is not going to do the marriage any good, because then we're going to be led by our own thoughts and decisions, and having that core value of us pursuing God and seeking His counsel, that brings us back to the center. And so to not have that peace and to settle and say, well, this is a good woman, she not in the presence of God, but she a good woman, it's dangerous. It's dangerous. Not to say it can't be done, but for myself, I think that's dangerous.
All right, I get a better understanding, because I was thinking that list that a lot of people have, if it's imaginary or a written down list where they have these, I want them to be 6'4", light skin with red hair on his face. I want them to have a master's degree, 2 homes, and a cat. So that's what I think, like, okay, he missing the cat, so I can't, you know what I'm saying? Like, so yeah, so I think with the Lord, all things are possible. But the thing that stood out to me about even me fighting my own list in my head about Sabrina was the fact that she fit my purpose. I knew my purpose. I knew where I was going. I knew the direction that God had me, and I knew the type of woman I needed that was going to help me to get there. And because she fit that, all those other things that I had on my list, just like, that list don't matter. She fits this. She's going to help me to be the greatest man that I can be in Christ Jesus. Not the greatest doctor, lawyer, or Indian chief, but in Christ Jesus. And so that's why I was like, you know what? That's when I was thinking of settling. I was thinking about that list. So yeah, I feel y'all. Great answers.
Mm-hmm. I want to go back to something Christina said, and I'm going to go back to you to address this. You said that settling could also be when you acknowledge that he is not acknowledging your worth. So my question would be to you first, and then I'll open it up to the other brothers. What do you want men to see in you? Like what attributes or what are the things that you want men to see in you?
I mean, first and foremost, I just want them to know that my core is that I'm a Christian, I'm a believer, I'm a follower of Christ. That's what I want them to see first. And then beyond that, I want them to see who I am authentically, right? And to be willing to accept that, and to not just be willing to accept that, but to love and appreciate that, and to also see my compassion, my love for others, things like that that come to mind. I don't even know if that's what you were looking for, but that's what comes to my head.
I wasn't looking for anything in specific. I was just asking it because you know I pick on you a little bit. You know, I say you look like Lisa Ray, and the other day was her birthday, so I wasn't expecting you to say, oh, I want them to see my locks, or I want them to see my nose ring, or I want them to see this dress I put on. I wasn't looking for none of that either. But I'm gonna flip this to my brothers. I'm gonna start with you, Corey. What do you want women to see in you?
Christ spirit. Um, yeah, first and foremost, because I'm a mess. Don't look at me. Don't, I have flaws, and that's why, I cling so close to being in his presence. So, I want women to see the Christ spirit, and then when you do see me again, making it right and staying in the presence of God. Um, so definitely. And then that I'm really about the King's business, similar to what Alvin said. I know the direction that God has me. It's to further His kingdom. So you got to buckle your safety belt, because that's what I'm gonna do until I die, and I'm gonna make sure that I further the kingdom in all ways, shape, form, and fashion. So.
All right, I'm gonna come back to you two one more time, and we're gonna wrap it up. Just a couple more questions. So to Christina and to Corey, either one can go first. But do you ever feel like you're unseen? Like being single, do you ever look out and be like, man, like people just ain't seeing my worth. They're not seeing my value. Like I'm overlooked. I'm underrated. I'm underappreciated. I'm unsung. You ever feel that way?
Yeah, honestly, for sure. I'm a human being, and those thoughts definitely swim through my mind. But then I'm also reminded that I'm living in a world full of darkness, and so it's hard to see a light, in all this darkness sometimes. And so, just taking those things into consideration. But sure, for sure, definitely see, other candidates with different qualifications, getting some positions and opportunities. But hey, I just chalk it up to God, and He know. I tell Him all the time. I say, "You see me, Father, and I know what You got for me, and can't no one take that, and can't no one take that. Yeah, can't no one take that away from me." So.
Yeah, definitely used to feel that way a lot more than I do now. I definitely have those moments because I do desire marriage, and I definitely had a timeline in my mind, and that timeline has passed. But what I'm starting to realize is that in me feeling unseen by others, I realized that at the core of it, it was just this lack of trust in God ultimately, that He has given me everything that I need at the present moment. I'm whole, I'm complete exactly as I am. And just also the realization that it only takes one. I said that in the first pod, and I really mean that. Like before, I felt like I was thinking all about, the numbers game, there's more women than men. And then if you look in the body, there's even less men there. But just takes one. And I also just, I don't know, I just rely on God's timing for things because, yeah, I could have been married when I was younger if it was in God's will, but I'm just grateful that I've had the space to grow and learn and to also solidify my relationship with God before that point, because I feel like had it happened before then, like I don't know where I would be. So I have my moments. It's a healthy desire for me to desire marriage. So I no longer deny that when I have those moments. But I just remind myself that just gonna wait on God and his timing, and I am whole and I'm complete right now, exactly as I am.
All right. That leads me to my last question. Oh, go ahead, Corey.
No, I'll just, chime in on that as well. God, the Father sees us, so that, man, that's all I need. The Father see me out here. Like, you can say whatever, like, you can miss me, all the things, but just knowing that the Father sees me and he loves me for sure, smiles on me all the time.
Yeah. Chris, I'm gonna ask this last question to the panel, and then we're gonna open it up to everyone else, to the masses. But Christina started to touch on it, and this last question is just single, married, divorced, wherever you are, separated in this season. Um, how do you, what gives you hope after heartbreak? What gives you hope after heartbreak?
I'll start this one off. You know, and I don't want to over spiritualize it, but the moments when I was the most broken um in my life, it's the moments I got closer to God. So when it says, when the Bible says that he's near to the brokenhearted, I know that's a fact. I know it's a fact. So even, when me and Sabrina were going through our thing, I wasn't anxious about losing her. Love her to death, but I wasn't anxious about losing her. I just didn't want to lose my mind, and I didn't want to lose him. So I was like, I'm gonna do my part. But if she keep going, guess what? He's near to the brokenhearted. So that gave me hope. I was like, if she go, man, I don't want her to go, but God about to level me up. That's just how I viewed it, because of my track record that God has with me and my brokenness. So that always gives me hope that he's close to the broken heart.
Yeah, I would just say that I just know that the brokenness, the brokenhearted feeling is not permanent. Um, and it should be a testament to the idea that, you know, we have to draw close to him. Without it, that should be our first step when we're in that space of feeling low. I know that it helped me because the closer that I got to God, the better I treated my wife. The better I treated my wife, the better our relationship became. And note that I said the better I treated her. It was a rough spot in marriage when I was introduced to the Kingdom Man book. And it really made me angry. That book made me angry. Because I had this idea of what I should expect, considering what I was doing as a husband and a provider. But the more I served, the better our relationship became. And it was tough. It was very tough because humbling yourself in the midst of being broken is like one of the hardest things, especially when you feel like it's not your fault. So that's what I would say. Just understanding that brokenness is not permanent.
I'll go ahead, Christina.
I just want to jump on what has already been said and just sort of reflect back on my first heartbreak again, like I mentioned earlier. For me, the most difficult part about that in retrospect was realizing that I didn't have tools to cope and I wasn't firm in my relationship with God. So it felt difficult. But now, and then so what I did was I was like, I don't want to experience this again. So I'm just going to put up walls, right? But what I realized is that like it's not permanent, like Vince said, and you miss out on like experience and love and all these other things when you try to avoid hurt. So I'm at this place now where I would rather love and lose than to never have love at all, because in those moments, like, although they were hard and they were difficult, like God showed up. And I felt like those are some of my most creative moments. Those were the moments where I had the most epiphanies, where I learned the most about God, and I drew the closest to Him. So now I'm at this place where before I was like, man, I don't ever want to go through it again. But I just realized that in relationships, there is a chance that you will end up heartbroken, right? Like God is the only one that doesn't let us down. So now I'm at this place where I'm like, if it happens, God will be with me. He'll carry me through. He's done it before. I can just look back on that resume and just find comfort in that.
Amen. Amen. For me, finding hope in heartbreak is that God is enough. God is all I really need. And I had to go through it to get it. Been through a divorce, was married for 4.5 years, and I did it wrong the first time. I was looking to appease my flesh and appease, just having a wife instead of looking at the source. I was looking for a resource in a wife. And so through that trial and error, when I came out of the divorce, then I was able to see, God was like, see, I'm all you need. Your wife will let you down. People will let you down. Family will let you down. I'm all you need. I'm the source. And so now, all glory to Him in Revelation. Now I see that no matter how spiritual the woman is, financially set she is, her accolades, academics, professionalism, none of that will fulfill my God-sized hole. I have to have God as my source. And marriages is the best thing smoking. I still believe in it, but I cannot idolize marriage above my relationship with God. And so, like I said, it took me going through it to get it, but now I got it. And, I just definitely encourage all of us that going into it and going forward, you can break my heart, but you're not going to break my spirit, So just know that God is our source. And once we put Him first and keep Him first, and everything else is it's icing on the cake. But again, I had to go through it to get it, but thank God now I got it.
Wow, this was a great discussion, great comments. This was a great time. Glad to be a part of this. I'm glad you guys allowed me to moderate. We want to open it up now for anyone else who has any questions, comments, or thoughts. So first, thank you to the panelists. Thank you guys for being real and authentic. And now for anyone else who has anything they'd like to share, something that they want to ask a question about, something that was discussed tonight, or even something else that's related to this topic of dating. So the floor is now open to everyone. Are y'all quiet, huh? Y'all want to hear everybody else talking?
No, it's just that my question was for Vince, but he had to hop off. I can ask you guys. This was way earlier in the conversation. You guys were talking about going on dates and expectations and paying and things like that. And he mentioned something about how the same way Christina is like, okay, duly noted. Like the dude asked me to pay. Like Vince said, he also takes note when the girl offers to pay. And I was just thinking, like, is that really the same thing? So like I'll just speak for LA. Like in LA, my experience has been that a lot of guys, not necessarily in the church, come with this expectation that a lot of women are just out for like free food and they're gold diggers. And so I think some women feel pressure I think some women feel pressure to make it clear that they are there to get to know you and that it's not about that. And so just kind of become routine where it's on the first date, if you don't really know that person, to offer to go Dutch as like a statement that like, hey, I'm fine with doing this. And then of course you take note of whether or not the guy takes you up on that offer. But I just wanted to know if anybody else feels pressure. I think I gathered from the chat that Daily definitely doesn't. But does anybody else, have you ever been in a situation where you feel like people already made up their mind about you and you have to try to prove them wrong? Does that make sense?
I'm
That makes
laughing.
sense.
I know you are.
I'm gonna let somebody else go, but I want to say something. But I'll let whoever was saying go something.
Go ahead, Daly.
I was just gonna say, like, when I was dating, I just had this thing where I just feel confident about who I am and like who I attract. So if men would come to me and they were like be weary about like first date stuff, that's not the man for me. Like, we just would not work. If you're worried about who's gonna pay the bill at the end of the day, you're not gonna last with me, because like futuristically, like us going out all the time or like just the type of love language that I like, you're not the person for me. So for us not to like hang out and all this other stuff after that, that would be a dead zone for me. But talking about clarity and things like that, it's funny because I was thinking this in the beginning. When I was dating or talking to my boyfriend, he didn't understand like courting and dating. They're two different things in my mind, because there's a lot of people that I think they just want to like have conversation with you and just get to know you, not necessarily like want to be with you or date you. And that happens a lot in LA. So like there's a lot of people that just want to go on dates and just have fun and have a good time with people, have no intentions of being in a relationship. And you will know that when you first start talking to them. And I consider that just courting. And if you're just courting, it's on you, whatever you want to do. But if we're intentionally dating and you're saying like you want to be intentional about things, then that's something different. But during my courting phase with my boyfriend, he always thought that we were just going on dates. And I'm like, how do you know I wasn't talking to nobody else and talking to you at the same time? You wasn't clear. You don't know that. So you have to be clear about certain things. And he just assumed since we was feeling each other, we were just going out from time to time, that like we was dating. I'm like, fool, I'm not just dating you. That would be silly of me to think that about you, that you're just talking to just me. And that's where you get it wrong. You're not just, how do I know you're not talking to other people and me on top of that? So I think dating takes like intention. You have to know like, this is something I want to do. But when you're courting or just being friends with somebody and just getting to know them, anything can happen during that stage. And I would say as women, sometimes, and I hear this a lot with some of the young adults that I am in the Church of Christ, they're so committed to like, I want to be married and I want to be intentionally dating. And I'm like, that's cool. But like on the first, couple of dates, like people are trying to figure out if they even like you yet. Like, they might be attracted by some things, but you don't even know. So to be like, I'm intentionally dating from the first date, I think that's like, to me, interesting. But those are my thoughts. And I feel like don't be pressured to feel like, did this date go right or did this date go wrong? I say be your authentic self. If that's something that you don't like, if you like to be wined and dined, or if you like to feel like this about a certain man coming to you and attracting you, then go with that. If you're okay with like splitting bills, stuff like that, then, that's for you. That's not for me. But if that's for you,
Yeah.
by all means.
Let me interject. And I see, Christina, I believe you were going to go next. But yeah, the dating and courting is a great conversation. We talked about that in our first one, and definitions matter and clarity matter, and definitely intention matters. I have a question after we address the next part, but I believe Christina had next, and then Alvin.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I definitely heard that. And I think in the beginning, the reason why I used to feel the need to offer to pay is because I didn't want people to think that about me. Like, I knew that that's not the reason I was going out with someone, it was never to get a free meal. So I'll be like, well, I don't want them to think this about me. So let me like pull out my wallet, or when the bill comes, do that awkward thing where, you know, you're reaching for your wallet slowly to see what they're going to do. But then I just got to a place where I was like, that's something that I want. And I'm not going to apologize for that. And like I said, you know, if it gets to a place where they do want me to pay, then I'll do it, but I'll note it. But I do want to add that I think that there's a way to sort of, if somebody's not ready to jump in and start paying right away and they sort of want to get to know you, like I've been out on dates where we just like walked in the park before, right? Like it was a day, but there was no money involved. So I think that there are ways to get it done as well. If money is an issue for the person in the beginning, maybe you're just not going out to a place where you have to pay for something.
You can go to the next question. I didn't have anything, so I'm just, it's just baffling. I just feel so bad for like my city. These guys are like having these women have to pay and wonder if they have to pay or if they're gonna. I'm sorry, you guys. I have to disciple the whole city because they making my city look bad. These boys out here tripping. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I don't think it's a LA thing, man. I mean,
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure this is more of a generational cultural thing. I mean, I'm like you said, man. I don't even know. These questions are genuine because I started off asking, what does a date even look like, right? You know, I've heard walks in the park. I heard, you know, once upon a time, hey, let's go catch a movie, right? But that could be just, I want to see this movie and I want somebody to go with, right? As opposed to, I want to take you out. So
Let me say this though too, man, because this is on my heart as it pertains to, you know, what Carly has said, and just this whole idea of, you know, women having to wonder, you know, do I have to pay, or am I going to pay to make sure that people don't think that I'm you know, doing whatever or trying to get over, or I'm the foodie call. That's what you said, close. Look, and I might be in the minority, and I don't care. You guys are the gift. You guys are the gift. And so just be clear about what it is that you're doing in that moment. If you're going to go out with someone, be clear. Like, look, what are we doing? I need to know. I ain't trying to marry you, but I need to know. Right. I don't want you to think that I need you to pay for me. Am I paying for myself? I'm cool with that. If that's the case, just let me know. But you guys are the gift. If I asked a woman out, I wasn't just haphazardly going around asking women out on, you know, to eat or whatever. They were the gift, and I was going to get my gift. And, you know, if you didn't act like a gift, I didn't treat you like a gift. I didn't. And if you treated me like a gift because, you know, it's not too many brothers in the church and not too many black men who not doing this and da 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 da. And, you know, if I'm the gift, man, guess what? I'm going to be, you know, I'm going to treat you like like I'm the gift. And so you guys are the gift. You guys are the gift. It's biblical. You guys are the gift. He who finds a wife, you are the gift. You are the one who has been sought after. And so, you know, just, you know, my encouragement is just ask them, like, what are we doing? Like, just be honest about, you know, because your time is important. Like, that time can be spent with your real dude as opposed to wasting your time with these fake wannabe dudes, you know, these Dom Kennedy. I'm sorry, go ahead. So I just have to say that, man, like, y'all the gift, man. Y'all be the gift.
yeah. Yeah, I think the sentiment, I agree with the sentiment, you know, around the gift. And even with that, you know, I think just the idea behind gifts is something we struggle with as Americans, period. All right. We don't, as a culture, we look the gift horse in the mouth. Meaning we size gifts up. We don't consider the effort. We don't consider the thought and the time that someone took to give us a gift. You know, it's very, very easy for us to really just size it up. So even with that, you know, I think it's important because we're still talking about a concept, a cultural concept that is not clearly defined in the Bible. So even though we attach these scriptures and these verses to it, right? He who finds a wife, right? I mean, we also have to consider, man, that the cultural times and the Bible times look nothing like what we do now. You know, they got married at age 12 and 13. You know, marriages were arranged. Some of them were, and they were arranged as it's almost like business transactions with the parents. We were groomed to be, you know, husbands and wives at a young age. And there's so much that we miss. And even in our cultural context, you know, I think something that is important is that we're trying all to figure out we're trying to get to this place of not just marriage, not just being married, but being happily married, right? Being married for the longevity. And I see your hand, Daly. We're trying to all get there coming from these very different schematic places, right? Some of us grew up in broken families. Some of us watched Cosby's in our homes, and we're all trying to figure it out. So I think what needs to be a takeaway is that, like, has been reiterated multiple times, intention, clarity, purpose, those need to be up front. Go ahead, Daly.
I also wanted to talk about, you know, Christian dating too. I know that when I was dating, Christian men feel like they are gifts, which they are. Not gonna say they're not, but they felt more of like a step above because they have more choices, because they are like, I don't know, considered like the few. And so that would make other women in the Church of Christ go out and seek other brothers outside of the church, because Christian men weren't putting effort towards trying to be with other Christian women. And I believe that, like, Christian single men should put just as much effort into trying to attract someone as they would anybody else outside the body. You know, you being a man who, you know, works in the church and does all that, that's great. There's a lot of men that do that. You just can't stand alone and like just feel like, you know, I'm a Christian brother that does all this stuff. Women should like really find interest in that. But it's just like, but you know, do you have manners? Like, do you have a, like, do you think there's other things that come beyond like what makes you? So you might have like a good Christian foundation, but there's some things that, you know, you could work on as well, and
Yeah,
that can make you better. But they just feel like, since I'm a Christian man,
yeah.
especially a sought out Christian man, that I don't have to impress other women. And I
Mm,
just feel like with that, you'll miss out on a lot of other women that's not trying to seek you out, because naturally they're not trying to be a chaser. They want to be chased, you know. So that's just a note from me to all the Christian single men.
yeah, that's a good note.
Chasing.
That's a good note. Let me interject momentarily. And I think Corey, I think you may have had something. I saw you nodding. But so there's a couple things you mentioned that I just want to just touch on. So first off, as a Christian man, I for sure feel like a gift. All right. Let me tell you, man, God made me unique. I for sure feel like a gift, man. And I'm not even talking about in relationships. I'm just talking about, I feel like that God really blessed me in a way that I'm like, man, you know what? I see things differently. You know, I interpret things, I process. I feel like that is a gift too, right? But the problem is when we start acting like I'm God's gift to women, right? Some, you know, women can be the same way. They feel like they're God's gift to, and that's an expression I'm using. They're God's gift to men, right? You also mentioned manners, right? And that's why I said what I said just before you spoke, that we're all coming from different places. Like, we don't all share the same manners. We don't all share the same cultural norms. Like, my wife is from the South, right? So there were a lot of things that I didn't understand that men do in the South that I've never seen done here in California, right? And I shouldn't be felt to made feel less because I'm not a Southern gentleman or she's not a Southern belle. And then lastly, I would just say, you know, I'm gonna speak from a male perspective, Daily. You know, and Corey knows this. Alpha know this, man. Look, as a Christian man, especially in the Church of Christ, man, I feel like, man, Christian women in the church, man, is platinum editions. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's my own personal opinion. Like, I got to a place in my walk where I'm like, I would get a lot of attention at school. You know what I'm saying? I would get a lot of attention at work. I would get attention a lot of different places, man. But you know, to me, that was Jake Junior Varsity. I felt like the top notches is in the church. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes I was wrong, but I still hold true to that theory. And the last thing I'll say is I look at these brothers in the church and I don't know why they be sitting back, but I'm like, man, what y'all boys waiting on, man? It's some platinum editions right under your nose.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, I think I'm among the minority as well because I don't use my position to just make, stand and be like, oh, come to me. I definitely have shot my shot, break my shot, put the work in. So, I guess I'm among the few with that. But I have seen some other brothers, take that type of position, and yeah, we got to pray with them and work with them because first off, we do this for the Lord. This is not for human or human praise at all. So we gotta make sure our hearts are aligned. But yeah, it does happen, unfortunately. But there are other brothers like myself who still know how to carry themselves like a gentleman, and if they're interested in a woman, they'll take the necessary respectful steps.
It's my take on that is man, there's so many things generationally that's falling through the cracks. And it's not just because men are in the community, it's because men are in the church. And so, I've been now at Metro for about 20 years. And we take care of our youth, but not many times that we just had like this hardcore man training, discipleship for the kids type things for the young men to teach them how to be men and take them out hunting and gathering and doing all that kind of stuff. It's just, I think we have a lot of Christians, but not a lot of disciples. So when I hear Christian men, it doesn't excite me. Just it's like, okay, people who go to church. But a disciple is what I see when I hear Corey talk, who's seeking and pursuing God. And there's definitely a difference between, and if there's a lack of Christian men, imagine how many sold out ones there's a lack of disciples. And so when I hear all this stuff, my mind goes to, man, I got to get to work. I got to disciple these brothers because, they're out there. They are, I'm telling you, they trying to date y'all in the world. I have to be on my game. So I'm hearing this from that perspective of, man, the church got to be the church, go out in these streets and stop recycling these Christians to go make some disciples. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah. And I want to go back to this gift though, man. I really want to go back to this gift because
Oh man,
like,
listen, brother. Listen, I'm the old head on here. Women are the gift. Yes, you are a gift. God handiwork. You are definitely a gift.
that's all
But
I want to say,
listen,
man.
but listen. God didn't gift you to Eve. He gifted Eve to you. So I'm just saying, this is, it's, Leah, Rachel was a gift. Like, I'm just telling you, like, if you want to be the gift, if you want to be seen as the gift, Christ's gift was getting on that cross. I'm just trying to tell you, bro, just trying to help you out. Like
Oh,
the
no.
gift that
Listen,
I'm just,
I'm not arguing with you, right? And I think this is the problem. I think the problem is when we limit, you're the gift, I'm the gift. No, we both gifts. We both the gift. You feel me? And we all gifts, bro. We all.
man. Let me say this. I'm gonna give King pushback is not here, but I'm gonna give pushback. That's the problem with men. The problem with us, because I've been there. I mean, shoot, man, women love me because of my personality. I'm cool, da, da, da. And so I used to take that and run with it. Like I'm the gift. But it's to me is out of order because if you're not treating me like the gift and I get married, now I'm in my feelings. I'm the gift too. No, Christ died for the church, and this is what it looks like for Christ to die for his church. It's for him to sacrifice, and for him to not to feel like the gift, for him to be scourged, and for him to be beaten, and for him to be bruised. And so that's what being a gift looks like for me, because Christ was the ultimate gift. And so, yes, although he was a gift, he didn't go around saying, I'm the gift, I'm the Christ, I'm the Messiah, I came here to do my Father's will.
Yes.
And so since I came here to do my Father's will, what that looks like is me dying. So that's why I got to, I'm saying, I got to give the ultimate pushback on that. It's like, yes, you are Jesus Christ, the ultimate gift. But what did him being a gift look like? He didn't go. He didn't have to ask his bride to there ain't no pushback. You feel it?
I agree, man, because Jesus is the gift. That's why people kept missing him. Like this dude is the gift. He don't walk around like, oh, I'm the son of God, man.
Yep.
Bow down and worship.
He didn't stop. He didn't stop purpose though, even if they didn't treat him like the gift.
Yes.
Even when they tried to kill a gift, even when they did kill a gift,
stayed
on purpose. That's what I want you to know. Yeah, you the gift, man, but don't be walking around acting like you the gift. Just be like Jesus.
That's all. That's all I'm saying.
Oh man, go ahead. All right.
I don't care what you say, Alvin. See, Alvin know this, man, and Alvin know this. I see your hand, Chandra. Alvin know this, man. Alvin is a gift. I not only are you gifted, you are the gift, man. We might need to take this offline even more. You are a gift. Go ahead, Chandra.
I came in kind of late, but I'm kind of disappointed that I missed the first half. But I mean, this topic is so sensitive to me that I have so much to say, and like I don't even know where to start. But what I will start off by saying is I just know that if you're married right now, you have no idea what it's like out here in this dating world. It is so corrupted and screwed up. And like you said, the roles have reversed to the point where it's almost, and I said almost, I'm not finished, but it's almost impossible for us to feel like the gift, because it's like the women outnumber the men so much. It's like, there's a slight desperateness in some people, unless you have a real godly control over you. Like it's a slight, like, this isn't going to happen, or like, I got to do something, I got to say something or whatever. And it's just it's so bad. It's so bad. I want to touch on that topic about what the brother was saying about, the men in the church. Is like, we do need leadership classes, and we do need to cater to men, because that's why the Muslims have been so successful, because they cater to men. And I'm not saying that we should skew, to change anything, but oftentimes, if you're not careful, since most of the congregation is women, we cater our preaching to women, as opposed to kind of being a little hard and given what the men need to hear or need to be doing. So that's an issue, and it's very frustrating. It's just, and I know we talked about going out to dinner. Like, you at this point, you can't even get the date if you get on them like apps or whatever. People aren't even making a connection if you're not willing to put out, or like, they don't even want to talk to you. It is so bad, and it's frustrating. And I almost think like that this is just like, this is the direction that we're going. It's just I don't want to say the curse is not the word I'm looking for, but it's just the best thing to say is just so screwed up. And it's this, like, I've had my ups and downs with this whole thing, and I've come to find an even medium with life now, but it's terrible. And I do believe women are the gift, for sure. But it's just, it's hard to see it that way when, as Christian men, they're not checking for us, it seemed like. And I've been in the church all my life, and I probably had since I was born. And I remember, like, when it was starting time to get to date, everybody was outside of the church, or they were playing around, and these were the children of Christian people. I'm not saying that they had relationships with God, but at least there should have been some direction there. So I mean, it just got worse from there, I feel like.
Daily, and then we'll come back to you, OG.
I was gonna say, like, from my experience in dating, I really had to create my space. I had to create a space for me, and I had to kind of be the gatekeeper of how people came in. And then I also think it goes back to relationship and having connection with people. I remember Tyson would talk about all the time about like fellowship and having connection and being able to talk to people and also getting to know people. Um, I had a hard time with that because I just felt like my really friends was my friends, and I was doing a lot of things in the world, and I was dating a lot of people in the world and doing a lot of things in the world. But when I took time to do fellowship and doing things in the church, I got to get to know people, and then people would start to become attractive to me because on the outside, I was just like, that my thing, you ain't doing this. But when you spend time with people after a while and getting to know them organically and you're not looking for them, after, I don't want to say this happens all the time, but I'm just saying, like, after a while, like, the things that you wouldn't think would be a connection, you start to find connections with people. And I wasn't just going to just Church of Christ things that were happening at just Crenshaw. I was going to like a lot of different things in a lot of different places and just finding things and just chilling with people and getting to know them in different spaces. And I think like sometimes you have to like widen your scope and just kind of be in the moment with people. And I can say firsthand, like my boyfriend, I would have never dated him if I was like not where I was trying to focus on like my Christian walk. He came during that time. And if I wasn't in that mindset, he would have never been the person I was like seeking out. So I just encourage people that are single right now to like really go to things and get to know people, and maybe like this person may not be the best, like what you think, like, oh, I would never be with this person. You really never know where you're going to be and how you're going to be with that person. And just always down to like be in different places and cities and wherever else that you can meet people. Because Snacks had this whole thing with like apps and stuff and went over the apps and all these different things like that. And they do have a lot of flaws in them. So I can't say too much about the apps, but just being always in communication with people is always a good thing.
Yeah. Big homie. Or anyone else.
Man, my heart and my heart, goes, but the heart is deceitful. So the reason I'm starting off there is because even though I feel for, all the single sisters, I like really do. Like I got daughters and little sisters and people who are women, young women who I love. I'm like, man, it's bad. And I really do feel, but me feeling the way that I feel is not going to do anything. I have to ask myself, and this is to the men on this call, like, what are we going to do? Like these sisters, man, have to, we were like, oh, she half naked and she a Christian. She's competing, man. Like, and it's like, no, she shouldn't, well, this person is not that way and this person is not that way. You hear the pain in Chandra's voice is real out there, that they're competing for these few men, not just in the church, just period, competing for these men, and these men aren't even deserving. And so my thought, it really is like, man, what am I going to do? What ways can I just start to get into the communities and disciple grown men, not kids? These are grown women talking on this call. Like, because I was a grown man. I was in my 30s. Yeah, I was in my 30s, late 20s, 30s when I got the call to discipleship. Like, and it was guys that was in their 40s. It was, so it's like, man, we got to do something. We got to, we got to go out and disciple these men and stop holding down these pulpits and, and passing communion, man. Like, we really got to get in these streets. And I believe that because of who we are on Coast to Coast, that we are a generation of men that can do that, but we got to do it. Because these sisters are hurting. Like, I hearing the pain and the frustration and the honesty and the authenticity in it. And then also linking that up with, what I see on social media. I'm seeing the fact that these, you know, I'm like, man, that sister, she got it. She loved the Lord. So why is she out here doing this for attention? Because it's hard out here in these streets, man. And for me to sit back and be judgmental of what she's doing or what she's not doing, and why, and not to say, yo, we say it all the time in the Black community, you know, men have been locked up, they've been disenfranchised. Da, da, da. How much more has it impacted the church? So what are we going to do to rectify the situation? And so I'm not about, you know, and I know we're talking about dating, but for me, it's brought up this urgency of discipling grown men, kind of like with the Nation of Islam, and like really going through some boot camp and some training and some unlearning and some loving and some getting them, not only getting them to heaven, but getting them to build the next generation of the church. Because I'm personally concerned about the next generation of the church, because I don't see young people want to be preachers and teachers anymore and working in church or go to church. Young men, I don't see it. And if we're not able to touch their fathers, their dads, their big homies, we're not going to be able to get to them. So that's my little soapbox, man. I could be on that all night, but we have to figure out a way to not just have heart conversations about this, me, not you guys, me. And I have to do something. I have to be more intentional about my discipleship and discipling people. So yeah, because it's hard, man. Dang.
Yep. Just remember, man, it's hard because becoming a Christian is all about unlearning and relearning. So that's what made Jesus so radical, is here he is, this man who's teaching against the cultural norms and traditions of his day. And his own people pushed him back the hardest. But it's like he told that woman at the well, he said, man, if you knew the gift I was before you, you would have asked me for some water. You know what I'm saying? And then he poured into her spirit with the Holy Spirit, and she left her water there and went back and told the people, man, come see this man. You feel me? So I think we just have to, man, really keep our eyes locked in on Christ, because if we look around the world, then yeah, we're gonna get caught up and distracted, and ooh, it's hard out here in these streets, right? We all saw the Twitter feed with Steph Curry's mom and dad when they decided they was gonna divorce, and the man said, oh, it's bad out here, you know, all these women and all these single dudes want to do is eat lobster and crab. And you know, it was funny, we laughed at it, but at the end of the day, it's like, hey, if we don't put our focus on Christ, it don't matter what we're doing, whether we talking about marriage or raising kids or our careers. We got to put our focus back on Christ, and we got to be what we desire. And that's where we anchor at. You know, that's why I like what a lot of what you guys said. Like, we have to really like be in that space, you know, because it's easy to get distracted when you look out and see, man, these brothers out here is lazy. They tripping, because what happens is, you know, we start feeling ourselves, you know, men. We start feeling ourselves and we start thinking, okay, yeah, I am a Black man. I do have a good job. I see it all the time, not just in the church. I am high up on my job. So we exploit that. And that's because a person's mind ain't on Christ. So this is a great discussion and great dialogue. I'm going to go ahead and, Chandra, you're going to have our last comments and thoughts.
All right, I just want to say this last thing. It's not for you guys, because I know like we preach into the choir. So I know this isn't directed to you guys, but another thing that's very frustrating is that, and I've seen it, like you can tell that, and let's talk about Christian men and maybe Black men in general, they go for the eye candy as opposed to the character of the person. And that's why, like, you see 5-6 years down the line, people getting divorced because they never took the time to like make sure that that woman was the right choice. It was more so like, I feel like men look at the looks as opposed to the character. And if you know any single men right now, I would just drop that in their ear. Like, the looks is not gonna last. And so it's just, that's very frustrating. And I see it a lot. And then when they get divorced, and then it's like, I don't even, it's frustrating because I know it's some really good women out here, especially Christian women. Let's just kind of deal with that. And I know that why they chose the women that they did. And you can see what happens. And it's sad.
Yeah. Let me just add this, right? I'm gonna mess with you a little bit, Chandra. And I know we're about to be finished. Welcome, Sam. We see you. Alvin, you'll be our closing OG like you always are. I'm gonna mess with you a little bit on that, Chandra. And this is I'm gonna validate what you said first because I'm a man and men are very visual. All right. We are highly visual. Visual is something, that none of us will argue against. We embrace that. That's why you see us talking about cars, the things like that nature. But I'm also gonna say that we're all in that same boat. We're all in that same boat. Just think about the garden. The woman saw the fruit and she saw that it was pleasing to her eye, right? And she didn't resist, even though she was deceived. We all get caught up in that eye candy. We are in this Instagram age. We're in this body morph. Go get surgery. Go get hips. We're all in this age, man, and it's that's why we have to put our eyes back on Christ. We all have to put, and it would be a blessing if the church was filled with people who are Christ-centered, Christ-minded, with the mind of Christ. But the reality is we're in different spaces and seasons, and it's a journey to try to get back there. So, and even with that said, it's eye candy in the church. You feel me?
So, like, Chandra, I didn't want, you see, that's my wife right there. I didn't want that woman because of that reason. Seriously, like, I'm like, I don't want no pretty woman. I got to deal with these NIGGs always looking at her.
Prejudice against life. Let's say.
Hey, I'm just telling you the truth, brother. I was like, man, hey, you know what I'm saying? I did not want to date her. I didn't want to have to, I'm like, man, I'm always have to argue every night. I got to prove my love, right? And and so her beauty wasn't what drew me in. And I know I'm atypical. I'm not your typical man and typical person in church. At that point when I met my wife, I knew my purpose. I knew where I was going. And so her sending me scriptures, the smallest thing, she didn't send me scriptures to try to holler at me. I don't even think she was attracted to me at that point in time. But her sending me scriptures was the thing that opened up my mind and my heart to her. And that was all God. I wasn't looking for it. I was trying to travel the world. I was trying to be super single and see all 50 states and, be whatever God wanted me to be. And when I least expected, he sent me my perfect compliment. But you're right. I'll be seeing these young brothers, and they don't be at church, they be at the brunches on Sundays. And every picture they with, somebody who, and then one of the young brothers get a girl pregnant, then, now in and out of court now, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how to combat that. Like, you can tell them all you want to, and we can tell them and tell them and tell them, but they're going to have to get to a point where they're seeking God, and they'll find their woman in his hands and in his heart. And that goes back to, to us men doing our parts to let, man, like Carlos says it, and I try not to say it. I shake my head at him. There are a lot of beautiful, and I'm not just talking about beautiful spirits. I'm not talking about beautiful spirits. I'm not talking about, oh, she's so kind. A lot of beautiful women in the church. A lot of beautiful women in the church. A lot of them. Shoot, on this call, I'm about to, every sister on this call, will get my attention, period. I'm gonna double check all of them. I mean, but so I think it's I can go sin with less guilt. So they're choosing who they can go sin with less guilt. Like, if I sin with you, because in the church we do sin, we do fornicate, we do that, right? but I'm gonna be a little bit more guilty now. I might have to see you at church or at an event, and that's gonna be uncomfortable. So let me just go out and sin and fornicate with the world. And then when I'm 50 years old, I'll come back to the Lord and I'll be ready to marry you. You know what I mean? So it's a real problem. We have a lot of different issues that we have to address. And the only way to address them is to address them. And so this conversation, necessary, but the follow-up is what we do, you know, how we live our lives on a day-to-day. Like, I really do need to be intentional about discipleship, discipling men, discipling brothers, because sisters, y'all don't like I'll be telling y'all to go to the Mexican brothers and the white brothers. Y'all not trying to hear that. Y'all want chocolate, and I get it. So I'm have to be intentional about discipling some brothers, and I get it. And shoot, I'm gonna do my part. That's all I can say. I'm gonna do my dangest to do my part to get some other soldiers alongside of me. But I got one brother that I know, TSS, will be shooting his shot everywhere I go. I was like, TSS be shooting his shot. He's a shot shooter. He ain't never seen a shot he didn't want to take. But
on him, bro.
don't get started on Corey. You said, oh no, okay. But he can't date them all, so he can't date them all. You know, he got to be selective. You know what I'm saying? He can't date them all. Hey, Los, I'm not gonna say that. We have to have a conversation offline about some other stuff. But seriously, you know what? Me and some of the other guys we're in prayer and fasting on certain things. I'm gonna make sure that we include that in our fast. That we include, got ways for God to open up doors for us to be able to minister to some men, and so that we can see an onslaught of men coming into the church who are not just men for the sake of being men, but who are men who are seeking after God's heart, who are in love with God so that they can love on God's daughters. So, yep, that's it. Lord, help us all. Definitely TSS, the shooter, you, Clay Thompson in this piece.
Oh, get off his jock, man. He ain't
Stop.
He's a J Cat. All right,
all I was gonna say is, I know Chandra, you didn't tap in the beginning, but there is a select few. There's a select few that do believe that holiness is the new sexy. So, you know, there are men out there that are looking for women of character and being tapped in with God, being more attractive than the physical beauty. But I know the number is lopsided. So yeah, like Alva said, pray with us, and we got a lot of work to do as men. So yeah.
Okay, look, man, I thought I was done. We keep talking about numbers. I just got to say this, right? It's always got to be quality over quantity, always, right? It's always, look, I'm going to tell you this from the male perspective. The numbers are there. This is just like school, right? So this is my experience, right? This is my experience. All right, let's say there's 100 bad women.
Mm-hmm.
At 100, how many of them are spiritual? And when I say spiritual, how many of them want to be spiritual, right? I'm not talking about read the Bible every day and oh how I love Jesus every day. No, I'm talking about how many of them are working out their soul salvation, true worshipers. That number gets smaller. Of that number, how many of them actually are interested in you? Not just, oh, I want a godly man, or I want a preacher, or I want a whatever. No, how many of them actually like you? That number is even smaller. Right?
Yeah.
We're looking at a similar dynamic. Just because there's a lot doesn't always mean the options are so much greater, because if we go back, I remember being young. When I was young, man, I couldn't, when I was 17, 18, I couldn't compete with these dudes who was 24, 25, taking out these sisters, man. In high school, man, I was on this one girl so tough, man. Oh, man, I was 16, she chose up on a 24-year-old, and I'm like, man, I can't compete with that. And even sometimes in the kingdom, it's like sometimes people gonna choose what they're gonna choose. All right, it is what it is, and at the end of the day, I gotta put my focus on Christ, and I gotta remember, man, we all gifts out here. I'm a gift too.
Oh my God. I don't understand nothing he was saying. Anybody else? Amen. I'm glad you're a gift, brother. I'm glad you're a gift. Don't stop believing, man. Don't stop talking in the mirror to yourself. But
Sam had her hand up.
I think Sam had her hand up earlier. Thanks, Corey.
I just wanted to share that for us women too, like even though he's Christian, like it don't mean that he the one. Like just because he's a Christian, it doesn't mean that he's worthy of us. Just like Los was saying, like, what's the heart like? And I know that's kind of easy to say because it could be a person that's preaching and teaching and doing whatever, but sometimes you still just don't know. So we definitely have to take our time. And even though looking from the outside, the numbers are stacked against us. But again, just like Christina shared earlier, we serve a God who is abundant, like, period. I don't care what the statistics say. I don't care what the jail numbers looking like. I don't care what the unemployment rate looking like. God got somebody.
Amen.
And even if you get engaged, even if he want to marry you, keep checking him out so that you can get what God really have for you. And I'm saying that to myself too, because I'm not married yet, or I was married, and I do desire to be married again. So anyway, I'm off my soapbox. Off my soapbox.
Talk that talk, my Esau with this. You feel me?
Lord have mercy. Whew, thank God that the New Testament believers don't believe in harems, because I don't know about Carlos over
Alvin, bro. Put that on me. Don't put that on me, Ricky Bobby. That's you. Alvin drunk. We're gonna close this off right now, man.
This guy.
We're gonna stop recording, but we're gonna keep it going, man. Thank everybody for your comments, man.
All love, no chaser. And I do think that we should, it's not typical on our podcast, but I do think we should definitely pray it out, pray a general prayer over the whole dating situation, and just, that we move forward in a way that is conducive for kingdom growth. Because you can't have a next generation if people are not getting married.
Amen.
So I'm gonna leave that up to you to pray